Seaforth Public School. I used to live in Seaforth. A viewer sent us in this. This is the curriculum for years 3 and 4. So what's that, 9 or 10-year-olds or something? Dear parents and carers, welcome to another term at Seaforth Public School. Overview of the Term 3 curriculum. English. Well, naturally, I would have thought, Rita, James, English might be kind of Shakespeare, maybe. You never know. You're like, no.
Too early for
Students will be focusing on first contacts and Indigenous perspectives this term through a variety of yada, 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 Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islands. So that's English, okay. History, okay, well, history, more legitimately so. Throughout this term, students will investigate the diversity of Australia's First Peoples. They will learn about Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples are connected to country, okay. So yes, propaganda, that's history. Science, we get farming practices in Australia. I wonder if that will include the Bruce Pascoe version of farming practices in Australia. We go down, we've got personal development and kids are being taught how to be appropriate or whatever, that's fine. We get to creative arts. Oh, here we go. Yeah, more drama and visual arts, positive behaviour, smiling mindfulness. I mean, this stuff is just left-wing garbage through and through and through. And seriously, parents, you do the right thing, bring it to our attention, but you've also got to stand up to the school and say this is not good enough.
This is throughout primary and secondary school, James. The curriculum is completely corrupted by politicking, by leftist dogma, and it's happening at a time where our standards are dropping, where we are dropping in international rankings, but we are number one possibly when it comes to indoctrination, leftist indoctrination. That's where we excel.
Rita Rowan, I mean, there's somebody who we have to mention, whose ex has been in the news this week as well. Julia Gillard is actually really responsible for so much of this, because remember, Julia Gillard put forth the Australian curriculum, which has added in it the cross-curricular priorities, which means that in every single subject where you can jam it in, you have to get this Indigenous topic material in there. So English, boom. History, boom. Science, boom. Every single one of these things,
it's
everything. And it will only get worse, because I'll tell you what, the Uluru Statement's whole piece about truth-telling, don't tell me that that's not going to have a big play in the curriculum. And what is going to be the ultimate message there to kids? Well, post-colonial settlement is illegitimate. Australia is illegitimate. You need to feel bad about it. The whole Bruce Pascoe line about how advanced Indigenous civilization was pre-settlement, and it's going to be not truth-telling, propaganda. So kids will come out knowing all of this stuff about how awful Australia is as a modern nation, but they'll know nothing about anything else.
And this is where we need to praise our former Prime Minister, possibly the greatest Prime Minister this country has ever had, John Howard, for coming out and saying, and this made headlines around the world, that the British colonising this land was the best thing that could have happened. And that is just a statement of fact. It's not just opinion, because unless you genuinely believe that Australia was going to be undiscovered, this massive land was just going to be left alone by the rest of the world, the fact that it was the British as opposed to others colonising it, and you look at what we have built in 200-odd years, how prosperous, peaceful, what sort of a uniquely blessed country we have, that is something to be celebrated. It's celebrated by a lot of migrants who come here, and they come here because of the lifestyle this country affords and the opportunity affords. But so many who are born here, so many who go through the schooling system are taught that they should be ashamed of their country, that this is something that it's built on white privilege and oppression and genocide and this absolute black armband view of the country, which is so destructive.
Well, we need to change it. We need to change it. I was reading yesterday that April 29th was the day James Cook landed in Botany Bay. I think April 29th should be Captain Cook Day. We should have a celebration every April 29th. Captain Cook Day, Botany Day. It's when he arrived in Botany Bay. And it was a boon for many, many Indigenous people and clans. Certainly a boon for people, as Rita was saying, from all around the world. Certainly a boon for those people who came out from Britain either in chains or in rags to start a new life. we live in a wonderful country. We should celebrate it. April 29th, Captain Cook Day. That's my bet. Now, let's also talk about, net zero. Coots banking. Let's talk about Coots banking.
Yes.
So we were talking about, with Carol Roth there, about how a central digital banking currency, and we'll be talking to Ralph Babette about this in a minute, is the absolute thing we must all oppose. Any kind of digital currency means control, means lack of freedom. Cash equals freedom, digital currency equals tyranny. That's the reality. We saw, James, from the Coots saga with Nigel Farage, how a woke bank will just, bang, switch you off like that.
Yeah, well, it's not just Nigel Farage. We're hearing reports like this coming in from around the Western world, that people who took positions on things that were unpopular with the narrative around COVID, vaccines, all sorts of things, they're having the exact same problem. Nigel Farage is the most prominent example of this, and the documents that came out from this bank are absolutely incredible. Coots is a very prestigious bank. I believe they bank to the royal family, among many others, and yet they decided, his opinions on Brexit weren't good. He's controversial. That's always the line. So, they said, well, as soon as he gets his mortgage paid off, let's boot him completely from the bank. Now, this should be treated. It's taken a couple of scalps, but I think the Coots banking charter should be revoked, because there also needs to be, I think, in Britain, the United States, Australia, legislation and laws saying that you have a right to bank and that it cannot be interfered with by some woke mid-level executive who has decided that they don't like, what you've got to say.
Well, this is a problem, I think, that could come to Australia very readily. We're looking right now that all the four major banks are taking a position on the voice. They're actively pushing the yes vote. So it's only one small step to pushing a particular position, no matter how divisive it is, to then saying, well, if you're an opponent of this...
You voted no, or you're voting no, then we don't want you at our bank. You're out. You can't spend money.
And Farage shows the power of fighting back. Of course, yes. He's powerful, he's got a platform, but not only is the CEO of Coots has stepped down, but the CEO of the NatWest Group, who owns Coots, has had to step down. BBC has issued a grovelling apology for pushing this fake narrative that Coots tried to say that, he didn't. We closed his accounts because he didn't have enough money to bank with us. We're a prestige bank.
And they also claimed some suspicious nonsense about Russia. Because, of course, Russia.
Absolute disinformation and propaganda, which the BBC fell for and had to issue a grovelling apology. So don't think this stuff can't come here, this ESG nonsense.
The woke stuff. And let's have Rita on that. Let's have a listen to a Labor politician defending the chairwoman of Coots, of NatWest, saying, because she's a woman, she shouldn't be fired. So here you go. So hang on. What we're basically saying, we'll just have a listen first.
I don't like some of frankly, what I see as bullying attitudes towards her. She's the first female chief executive of NatWest. She took over at a time when that bank had real big problems.
So let's be clear. No accountability. If you're a Sheila in charge of a bank, you can do anything wrong.
That is so sexist.
It's unbelievable.
And she came there at a time where they were in crisis. Yeah, guess who helped them out? The taxpayer. She didn't come in there with some genius ideas that solve things. It was the taxpayer.
Yeah.
Okay,
and Coots is, I think, about 40% state-owned. So it's not just a private entity.
Now, just very quickly, we're going to a break, but if we just check our glasses, it's...
evaporation!
It's evaporation. It's boiling. Global boiling, folks.